Affordable, a story that's going to be told in 3 parts. This is part 1. This must be a conspiracy, the security guard said curiously as another homeless man approached the jewelry shop. They always seem to know when the owner's in the store. He tried to be discreet, but the man there from the street cried for mercy. And the cries reached the owner's ears. So in he walked, this urban clutter. He looked like street and smelled like gutter, but the owner treated him like a prince. He laid out the finest things for him. The man's eyes grew and he pointed to a pearl that lay beneath the glass. "How much do you have?" the owner asked. Well, this stunned the man. He couldn't speak. What could he say? The others said you'd give away. Shame engulfed his shallow frame. "Can't afford it," muttered, he said. So he started to turn to go until the owner stopped him with his hand. "I didn't ask if you could. I just asked how much you had," he said. Well, the man emptied his pockets, the remnants of his life, the cap from a beer bottle, a picture of his ex-wife, some loose change, a ticket stub, some tissues on which he cried. At the sight of all this garbage, the owner's eyes grew wide. "It's a deal," he said with glee. Well, the man was stunned. If this were free, that would be one thing, but for this? The owner seemed ignorant in bliss. Well, the man, confused, ashamed, but glad, fell upon his knees and said, "I don't know why you'd take this life. It's not worth the sacrifice. And at times, it's quite deplorable. No, I couldn't pay the price. So imagine my surprise to find you're so affordable." Now, I'm hoping most of you know who I am. Is that correct? For those of you that don't, my name is Crume. I'm the president of Judson University. It's the most awesome job in the entire world, perhaps one of the best jobs in the history of civilization, but I don't want to oversell it too much. But it's a good gig, and so it's my pleasure to share with you our chapel message at the beginning of our semester, and as you can tell, the theme's going to be affordable. Well, what is affordable today? And this is a tough time to ask that particular question because we're just returning from the holidays, and I'm sure, like me, many of you don't have much money to show for it. You probably spent quite a bit during the holidays, got some things you want, got some presents you want, perhaps a little bit of jingle-jangle cash from your grandma or your aunt or uncle or a friend like that, but generally your bank account's going to be slightly different than it was before the holidays started, and here we are in a new year, and you're back at college. And guess what? Tuition, fees, I'm guessing a parking ticket or 2 or 12 out there in the crowd, books, food, and you're looking at me going, "Yeah, hey, smart guy, don't talk to me about affordable." What does it mean to afford anything anyway? What does it mean to afford this expensive college education that you're taking part in? Well, I'm here to tell you there's a big difference between something being affordable and something being cheap. It's a big difference between something being affordable and something being inexpensive. There's a big difference between something being affordable and something being given away. There's something affordable that's distinct, that's very different than buying something at Dollar Tree. Affordability has 3 very clear distinctions. First distinction, if something is affordable, that means it's accessible. That means you can achieve it, you can have it, you can get it. It is available to you, accessible. Second distinction, if something is affordable, that means you want it. If it's affordable, that means you want it. Now, I can tell you, I love going to Dollar Tree, as my wife can tell you. There's barely anything in Dollar Tree that I need. There's a lot of stuff that I may think I want. There's not really much in there that I want most of the time. That's very different than affordable. At times I go to other stores because there's something that I want, and I'm hoping it's accessible, and I'm hoping it's affordable. Second distinction, it's got to be something you want. And the third distinction, if it's affordable, it has value to you over time. Accessible, want, value. That's what makes things affordable. So now back to Judson. And you're sitting there going, great, thanks. What does it mean for something at Judson to be affordable? Well, let's break it down real quick. It's accessible, and I can prove that being at Judson's accessible for all you college students out there, because guess what? You're here. You're here for a reason. It's accessible. You're sitting in this audience. You're going to classes. You're participating in this thing that we call a college education, and guess what? You won the lottery. You're in the great 5% of everyone in the entire world that has the accessibility and the affordability of our college education. So it is accessible because you're here. And I don't want to diminish. Most of you, almost all of you, if not every single one of you, has made a lot of sacrifices to be here. Financial sacrifices, personal sacrifices, family sacrifices. You give up a lot to be a part of this education. And our job as faculty and staff is to joyfully walk alongside of you to do that. You've given up a lot, and you've made a sacrifice to be here. And we get it. Some of you may even think that Judson's just here to make a profit off of you. Well, we're a nonprofit organization. Any profit that we have goes back into, guess what? You. I don't get it. I don't get a profit share. The faculty don't get a profit share. Staff don't get a profit share. Believe me, at times we wish we did because we're here because of our calling. But the profit is you, and we put the profit back into you. Because guess what? Our business is not going out of business. That's not why we're here. Our business is God's business. And we put what God blesses us with back into our business. So I want to do a little thing right now, too, to talk about that, to talk about the accessibility of college. And if I would, I'm going to challenge the lighting tech team right now because I'm going to have them turn up the lights a little bit in the chapel. And I want everyone in here to stand up for me. Every single person that's in here, if you can and if you're able, if you'll stand up. And as you're standing up, I want you to look around. So if you're in the balcony, I want you to look at each other up in the balcony. I want you to look up at the people that aren't standing up yet and just stare at them to make sure that they stand up because that's important. Same thing down here. I want you to look left and right. Look at the person in front of you. Turn around and look at the person behind you, especially if that person's not standing up because they're able and they can't or they're not. Look at the person on your left and right. If you're in the balcony, look down on the people down here. You have permission to look down on these people. If you're down here, look up to the people that are in the balcony. Look up at them. There's people up there. Did you know that? Everybody's looking around? Awesome. Thank you. You can sit down now. Notice what happens when you look around at each other. Notice the volume level changes because you see each other. There's a couple things about that I want to point out. As you looked at your classmates and the other college students that are standing here, as you looked them in the eyes and stared at them, guess what? Nobody in this room is paying full freight for your college education. 0 people sitting in here are paying full freight for your college education. Almost everyone in here has a scholarship or a grant. The donors have given money so people can be here, so you can come here and have this education. They've refurbished this chapel that you're a part of, so that didn't come out of the operating budget. They pay for equipment. We have 2 awesome studios over in the DeMoss Center and the Thompson Center that donors have paid for and supported. Thank you, Doc Ryder. Nobody's here because you pay full freight. And as you looked around, the second point to point out is there are more of you here this January. We have exceeded our goal for returning students. So there are more students that came back to Judson from fall to spring this year. And in addition to that, we're probably going to end up setting a school record for the most transfers this semester as well, too. Absolutely. So is all that to say, yay, give a round of applause? Absolutely not. It's to talk about that. This is accessible to you because you want to be here. You made a choice to be here, and a lot of people like you made that same choice. So you want to be here. I mean, I know when I teach class on Tuesday, Thursdays, my marketing students want to be in my class. In fact, they're here today, right? Where are my marketing students from my marketing class? Stand up for me, please. Look here. Give these brave people a round of applause. They got to put up with me all semester long. Thank you. Now, the reason that's important, the reason that I share that is because on class on Tuesday, I'm going to start the semester like I start every semester in teaching class, and many of you have heard this before. I am deeply appreciative to each of you in my class, the fact that you would choose to be in my class at 8 o'clock in the morning rather than anywhere else on the face of the earth. You'd rather be in my class at 8 a.m. than anywhere else on the entire face of the earth. Is that true? Why are you laughing? Why is everybody laughing? You're laughing because you're thinking, dude, I'd rather be anywhere else on the face of the earth than in your class at 8 a.m., right? Right? Not quite the case. Because you're there, because you want to be there. You're not there by circumstance. You just didn't happen to wander by Judson one day and in Lindner Tower doing your best Johnny Depp from a movie and go, oh, what's this, a marketing class? Well, I think I shall sit and ponder a while this thing unfolds and takes place. Does not happen. You're there by choice. You made a choice to wake up, to get ready to whatever varying degrees you choose to get ready. There's always a proportion. The people in Lindner Tower look less ready than the people outside of Lindner Tower because they live there, right? But you show up for class because you make a choice to be at the class. So as not only is it accessible, you want to be there, and obviously you all want to be here at Judson University. So what value does this bring to you? Well, I got a slide that talks about what that value is. I'm going to talk about some other values of what this means to you, but here is an economic value to each and every one of you that are sitting in here right now. And that is over the course of your lifetime, because you made a choice to choose an accessible college education to be at Judson University, you now sit in a position further than any of your peers or colleagues to earn more money over your lifetime. Just by attending college, you will earn more money over your lifetime than those that don't go to college. By graduating from college, you earn even more money than those that chose to attend and those that did not have the availability, did not have the accessibility, and could not attend this college education. And if you choose to earn a graduate degree, the data is overwhelming. The vast majority of people that earn graduate degrees earn more money over their lifetime. Going to college, coming to Judson has an economic value. It's accessible. You want to be here, at times whether we know it or not, and it has value over your lifetime. Affordable, part 2. I was a pale and popular 9th grader, a 14-year-old procrastinator. I was mocked for years, so I built a perfect replica of myself. I did quite well within that frame. I knew the part, and of course I played the game. And I didn't think of change until he appeared. And he wanted me. I mean, I was a third wheel, a bully's dream. I was the last kid picked on every team. And the ones I got on didn't win. And I was wanted by someone such as him. Well, I can tell you how that felt. I fell down on the ground and knelt and gave him most of my life that day. Most, you say? Well, I must confess there were some chains of sin, I guess, that I just did not want to let go. So I was pulled and I was ripped, with one foot on the ground and one foot on the ship. I'm not sure I gave it all, and I'm not convinced that I've done it still. But I am here to tell you that the more I surrender to His will, the more I win. Which works out pretty well because I'm pretty good at losing. So we've established that affordable is why you're here at Judson. It has the key pieces there, but why are you in chapel? It's a Friday. The only Russian I know is Slava Bogu Savoydia Pianitsa. Anybody speak Russian in here? Slava Bogu Savoydia Pianitsa. It means thank God it's Friday in Russian. And that was taught to me by a Christian believer because when she lived in Russia, she thanked God every day she was alive in Russia. And her goal was to get out of Russia. So it's a powerful phrase, not because we use it and it's been a movie and all kinds of other stuff, but it is a powerful phrase. But you're here on a Friday in chapel. And guess what? Is chapel accessible? Yep, you're here. Do you want to be here? Like my marketing class, this should be the easiest A you'll ever earn at Judson University. To earn an A in chapel, all you have to do is walk through those doors, swipe in, and swipe out, and do that a certain number of times, and you'll walk out with an A in chapel. Not only is that accessible, that also gives you value. It brings value to you. So yeah, do you want to be in chapel? We know it's accessible. We know it has value. Well, let me ask you this about being in chapel. Do you simply want to be a better human being? Because I'm getting ready to blow your mind with some data here in just a minute about what attending a regular worship service does for you over your entire lifetime. Do you think you can learn from our speakers? We had amazing speakers in the fall. We've got a great lineup of chapel speakers in the spring. Chris Lash and the team does a phenomenal job of bringing in speakers you can learn from, and Chris does a great job of sharing the gospel with you to make it meaningful in your life. This is an important part of the Judson experience. So do you think you can learn from the speakers? Do you think you can learn from Chris as the semester unfolds? Do you think you can be inspired by this worship team? They're pretty amazing, talented artists. They have a passion for the gospel, and they love to share it. Do you think you can be inspired from this team? Well, the good news for you in chapel is that we have planted a professional chapel worshiper for you to show you what it looks like to worship in chapel. And the reason that everybody stand up a minute ago is because some of you make a choice about when you show up here, how you want to show up. And how you show up is incredibly important. We have a professional chapel worshiper that leads you in chapel every time. Ashley, will you stand up for me, please? You turn around and look at the crowd here. Everybody give Ashley a big round of applause. Thank you, Ashley. So my inspiration and my goal, and it should be your goal as well too, is that you need to worship like Ashley. You need to find a way to worship like Ashley. Now, I can't outdance Ashley. I can't do my arms as well as Ashley. But in my way of doing that, I have to do it the way that I do it. So I do it just kind of, the old way where I'm just standing here in this little space that dudes like me stand in and we just kind of twist and turn. But I do that because I'm watching Ashley. And so my encouragement to you is find your way to worship, whether you believe in all this stuff or not. Because showing up is really important. This is great training, whether you're looking up here and you're like, hey, man, dude, why do we have to have all this Jesus stuff? Why do we have to have a lifestyle statement? I mean, why do we have to have all this faith junk around us, this campus? Why do we have to do all that? I can get to that in just a minute, but it is important. It's important practically to you from a return on investment value because this is great practice for the rest of your life in the real world. Most of you are going to go into a job. You're going to work for people. You're going to work for someone else. Most of us do not work for ourselves. And guess what? You're going to be required to go to a meeting that is awful. It's boring. It's worse than the worst lecture you think you've ever had at Judson. And you're going to have to learn how to sit in that meeting and act like you care, or guess what? You ain't got no job. Because the boss is looking, other people are looking, and they don't give promotions to people that just show up, pull their hoodie over, look disengaged, look at their phone, and don't pay attention. People don't encourage and support people that disrespect them in that way. It's the equivalent that if you're a student athlete, all of us make a conscious decision not to go to any of your athletic events. Or we make the conscious decision to go to a theater production or to go to a music production here at Judson University, and with the people up on stage performing, we pull out a newspaper and start reading it or a magazine. That's the equivalent of showing up in chapel. It's showing up. It's being here and acknowledging that you are here, and especially when we have guests take this stage. We don't ask you to pray. We ask you to stand up and respectfully acknowledge the people that are praying. When I went to Thailand on my 2 trips, we visited the Buddhist temples. I went with my Thai friends to visit with them while they went into worship. And I was respectful and took off my shoes and stood to the side while they did the things that their faith called them to do. Now, I didn't participate in that, but nor did I pull out my cell phone and go lean in a corner and start disengaging from them. Work and life is a lot like that, and it brings value to you when you learn how to do that well. Now, how about some of that data to share with you? What does it mean to show up at chapel? Well, there's a movie a few years ago that had a great phrase in it, and that phrase was, you can either get busy living or get busy dying. Many of you probably know the movie The Shawshank Redemption. And guess what? You're doing both right now at the same time. You are both living and dying right now. Your cells are dying off of your body. You cannot stop it. And I can tell you as a 54-year-old dude, I've got cells that are shedding all the time that just stun the life out of me. My fingernails grow faster than I ever thought they would. People will talk to you about that. Your body is in a state of decay. But at the same time, my body is alive as well too. As is my mind, as is my spirit, and as I am as a person. You're both living and dying at the same time. So what value does it bring to you to come to chapel, other than those economic pieces? Well, number one, attending a regular worship service reduces your risk of depression. And the data I'm giving you, the various data points, are as old as 40 years old. Social scientists have been studying this for a long time. It improves your physical health. Attending a regular worship service improves your cardiovascular and your immune function. There's a lot of stomach virus going around. I'm not quite sure it cures that, but it makes you a healthier person according to the data. And looking out there in this crowd, students your age attending a regular worship service do better in school. And we've already cooked that in the process. You show up, you swipe in, you sit, you pay attention, you depart, you do that a certain number of times, and guess what? You get a good grade. Your GPA has already been approved. And attending a regular worship service means that you will live longer. And I'm not just talking one study that I read for that. I'm talking about a half dozen exceptional studies. In fact, there is a 55% reduction in mortality of church attenders and worship attenders compared to non-attenders. So whether you believe in God or not, the fact that you're choosing to come here and be a part of this makes this very affordable to you. And it brings you great value. Plus, throughout the course of this semester, Chris is going to talk about things that resonate with resiliency. So part of the chapel conversation this year is about resiliency and how do you become a better person and what does that look like? So you'll grow in lots of different ways if you just simply choose to attend and to show up. And speaking of chapel value, have you noticed that quite a few faculty and staff attend chapel on a regular basis? It's by design. We've talked about it now for 7 years. And we discussed the fact that chapel is the spiritual, intellectual, emotional, and geographic center of this campus. That's why we have phenomenal speakers that speak in chapel, because they not only inspire us and you as students, they inspire faculty members that are gifted and so amazing in their field of study. They want to come hear these people share. And you may be thinking, oh, well, most staff comes to chapel because they just don't want to work that day and they want to get out for 45 minutes and come to chapel. Yeah, they do. That's exactly right. You are correct. You know why? Because work's hard. And if you can have the break in the middle of a day and go to a chapel at 10 o'clock and hear an amazing speaker and recharge your batteries, guess what work feels like on the back end of that? It feels a lot better. It supports all that data that I just shared with you. So yes, we close offices. We close Jerry's Cafe. I know. And from 10 to 10:45, we try not to have any meetings, although sometimes I violate that regularly and other people do, because this time is precious to all of us, not just to some of us. That's why chapel is important. It has great value to this campus, and we put a lot into it. So how are you going to show up? Well, I've already used Ashley as an example, and she's one of about 50 folks that I could point out. So how are you going to show up? I get it. As amazing as these speakers are, maybe chapel on a certain day is just not your day. It happens to all of us. It happens when you come to class. It happens sometimes when you're sitting at church. It happens when the person you want to spend the rest of your life to is talking to you about something very, very important, and you just can't seem to focus on what they're saying. Right, sweetie? Yeah. I'm pretty good at that. Did you forget the losing part I talked about a second ago? The person you care about the most that you should be listening to, it just at times you just don't have it. So yeah, it's hard coming in here and doing this. But it's great training for the rest of your life. We do this because of our faith. It drives everything we do at Judson University. It makes us the community who we are. And guess what kind of community we are? We are the only college or university in the United States. We are the only college or university in the entire world, and I'd be willing to put the entire universe, but I have not quite explored that far yet, that does both and as well as anyone. We're a school of both and. That's what makes us unique and different and special. We are a school that has both a doctoral program and a RISE program. Get your mind around that for just a second. Absolutely. And by the way, thanks to the RISE Special Olympics basketball team last night for a great game that they played, and to the players that played and scored in the game last night, and also to your student colleagues for coming out and supporting your students, your colleagues. So good job to everybody on that. Sure, big round of applause. That feels good. We're a school that has both an architecture program and a youth ministry program. Almost A to Z. Almost A to Z. Architecture to youth ministry. And lots of great programs in between that particular spectrum. We're a school that has both a bowling team and an improv team. We do both and better than anyone else in the country. And we don't say that to brag. We say that because our standard is ourselves. We'll look at other schools. We'll see what they do. We appreciate that part of it. But there's only one Judson University, folks. And you're it. You're a part of it. And you're not alone. This is an amazing community with over 10,000 people. 1,234 students started here in the fall. We have 150 faculty and staff. We have over 200 adjunct professors. And we have approximately 8,500 alumni, donors, supporters, churches, and organizations that partner with this school. That's 10,000 people that care about this place. You're in a rich community. So when we say it's a great day to be a Judson Eagle, it's a vote. You're either voting to be a part of it or you're trying to figure out what it means to you. And that's okay. Because guess what? We're going to love you through both of those. You don't have a choice on two things in your life. You don't have a choice on all of these people I described to you, praying for you, and loving you. You don't have the choice as to whether or not I pray for you or I love you. I love you and I pray for you. And that's a privilege that I have and many others have, and we get to share that. So this is an invitation. It's an invitation because it's an invitation that is so affordable. It's accessible because God is pursuing each and every one of you sitting in here right now. And those that are still traveling here from other countries and students that have challenges at home right now with parents passing away and that are trying to get back to this school because you're their community. It's incredibly affordable. It's incredibly accessible. And it's because you're in this community because you want to feel a sense of community and you want to be loved. Now, I'm going to tell you, one of the most silly, goofy leadership things I've ever heard is when a leader says, you know what, I don't care if they like me, I just want them to respect me. Guess why leaders say that? Because they got one thing left, respect. They've already been unloved. They've already showed that they have a hard time loving others. And so all they have left is respect. And guess what that respect is generally based in? When someone says, I don't care if you like me, I just want you to respect me, they're saying, I have power. And my power means you have to respect me. And guess what happens when people approach us with that attitude? Oh, I'll respect you as long as that power is in my space. But the second you're gone, it makes it really hard. Because if you're showing that you want to be unloved, it's hard to love you. But guess what? In this community, it's our job. It's our job to love those that think they are unloved. They think they are unloved. Everyone wants to be both loved, liked, and respected. Everyone wants to be liked and respected. God wired us that way because it makes communities better. So, you're in a community that loves you, at times whether you want it or not. And You have the greatest value proposition by having a God pursuing you and having a God who loves you and having a God who puts a community around you that made it accessible to you. And that is the greatest value proposition in human existence is called eternal life. What Jesus promised to us on the cross. That is why we do what we do every day. Affordable. Part 3, the conclusion. There's no one listening to me right now that cannot have God in their life. There's no one who can hear my voice that cannot afford 100%. Everybody's got 100%. It's not about how much you have, it's about how much you give away. No one can be half a saint. No one can be kind of holy. You are or you aren't. It's easy to say, but it is hard to do. That's why he died for me and you. But his grace is sufficient to carry us through on the days or the nights and the times we're just too tired or lazy or weak or crazy. Well, a little crazy is good, you know. You'll have to be if you're going to go to the cross. Because that's where he went, and he gave 100%. A price we can all afford. So let's give it to the Lord. Have a great semester. You are loved. We care about you. Thank you for being at Judson. You are dismissed.